Alright friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kristen and this is Growing Zone 9B. This will be the first video for July. So as you guys know, we've had some death in the garden. What we have planned to do is basically dig out half of the beds. We are going to add new dirt. I'm going to be adding some new soil. We're going to just be kind of changing it up a little bit. I definitely feel like whatever happened was probably some sort of environmental situation. We have planes that come over. They do like a type of like crop dusting, but we have helicopters that actually bring in some of the pesticides for clearing out the mosquitoes, and we've also been requesting to have the lake sprayed, so that could be definitely something that has been going on. So I'm glad somebody in the comments actually had mentioned that, because there was certainly overspray from the weeds getting sprayed in the lake. It is a manual process, but it's just very aerial when it's done, and so that potentially was part of the factor. So potentially. Now, I talked to my mom, and my mom had the same exact problems that I've been having, and she lives probably like 15 miles from me, so give or take. And so she has been dealing with a lot of the plants dying back. It could be heat related. That's why I'm like, who knows? You know, honestly, this is kind of the risk you take with gardening. You know, reality is a hurricane, a big storm could have come through, knocked everything over and killed it. Like, that's just the Florida life. Like, you take a risk growing no matter where you are, but the risk is absolutely worth taking. So with that being said, we are going to be making some changes. I had already kind of planned on buying a couple of new things, and so we have already started that implementation. I had been doing some recordings and the GoPro kept shutting off, so my fiance had to do a like reset on the camera. I'm glad he's a tech guy, because I would not have known what to do. So behind me you can see it says Stark Brothers, or Bros now is what it is. So what came in this box was a Concord Grape. So Concord Grapes are really zones like 3 through 9-ish. We are really pushing zone 10, but where I placed this plant, I think it's actually going to work. I'm going to control its growth by keeping it in a we've bought a large pot. We've had this pot for a while, I just haven't really been utilizing it. And so I put some of that bat guano soil in it, and I just realized I've been recording this video and you guys can probably hear the water fountain going, so if you hear that, that's what it is. We don't normally have the cushions and stuff on the chairs, but we have started getting set up for the kids to come over. My family's coming over, and so we are doing a little gathering. So there it is. It's, you guys don't normally get to see that. I don't usually keep the cushions out. I've got the football and the soccer ball because the kids love that. I gotta put those signs on the fence. I still haven't done that, but yeah, we have the water fountain over here going, so it makes it kind of really nice. I need to clean the bird. I just realized how dusty that is. But yeah, let's go out and check out how I've done this Concord Grape. Now, what I ended up doing to a lot of these plants, to kind of the ones that I thought might survive, is I ended up throwing a lot of potassium on them with a mixture of the coop poop, and I did some oyster shells, ground oyster shells, to bring in some of that, you know, calcium back into the garden, just really trying to revitalize what we still have. Thankfully, my neighbor next door, they were having their stump ground down, and so with that they had a lot of shavings from the oak tree, and he had texted me and said, I know you get mulch, you're interested in mulch, do you want what's going to come from the tree, otherwise I have to pay to have it hauled off. And I was like, no, listen, drop it over the fence and I will start dispersing it through the garden. So like I said, we've already started digging halfway down. I've already redone some of these beds, and I've got some new stuff going on in the front since the passion fruit in the front died. We actually ended up, one of the things we've done, which I don't know if y'all notice, we have vehicles that I always tell y'all to pay stuff off, but my fiance, he likes getting vehicles, I think. I do too, honestly. Like, it just makes you feel good sometimes. But so he got a new Jeep. So I'm watching him. He's backing the Jeep down into the lake because the lake has come up enough, and with the weeds dying back, we are going to be taking the kids out on the tube today. So I might get some shots of that for you guys. It is supposed to rain today, so I'm hoping that it won't be too bad for the kids. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this little walk around and what I'm going to show you that we're doing. All right, so let's go check out that Concord grape. So here we go. So I have taken this pot. It's a yellow pot. It's very pretty. I thought the Concord grape would be really nice over here. As you can see, the tomato plant died, so I had to rip it out. And what I'm putting in its place is this Concord grape. Now, it came as a bare root. It did come from Stark Brothers, as I still call it. But so it's a Concord seedless grape. I am hoping that it takes off. I have put the bat guano soil in it. I have mixed that in with some potassium and some other nutrients that will be very beneficial for this plant. And we're hoping that maybe having it over here in this shaded area, that it's going to do fairly well for us. So one of the plants that did not die, thankfully, which I have this all in the way, but is my pomegranate. And so I am glad about that. So hopefully, I've been trying to give it lots of love and nutrients, and just hopefully I'm able to keep this plant going and alive. I think some of the other plants kind of protected it from getting damaged. There's our new Jeep back there. So back here is our giant pile of mulch that we are going to be utilizing to put in the beds. So that's actually going to be really good. We are going to be manually putting this in wheelbarrows and kind of shifting it around the property and getting it spread out. So it's actually ginormous. Really, it would be beneficial for us to have a little small tractor or something to push it around, but that's not how this is going to work for us. So, but we are very grateful for this. I'm very grateful for this. My fiance probably not so much, because he's going to be helping me move this, and that's like I said, that's a lot of manual labor for us. So that's what's going to be going into the beds. You want your beds to be kind of like a forest floor in a lot of ways during the summer here, because number one, it'll help to keep the moisture in the ground, and then number two, it's just going to break down and bring some really good nutrients into the bed. Now, you don't necessarily want to throw plants on top of that. Nitrogen in that wood is really going to potentially manipulate the ground that is already in there. There's the Jeep. The new Jeep. It's pretty. It's a pretty Jeep. I have to admit though that the Jeep makes me very sick. Now we've like tested a Jeep before, and what's happened is it's like done this like wobbling. My neighbors are talking. Right, so what we're gonna do is, like, this bed that we've already been having some issues with, we're gonna take this mulch, and like I said, we're just gonna layer it in. I will definitely take you guys along with that so you can kind of see what we're gonna be doing. It's gonna take a little bit for that mulch to start to break down, and we're just gonna flip it within the beds. It's good because it brings like aeration into the beds. It allows worms to, you know, help to break down the mulch. The mulch itself will begin to break down. So it's a really nice blessing to be able to have that from my neighbors. But overall, I mean, today's just going to be a good day. We are actually not going to really be focusing on the garden. Like I said, we've got the jet ski out there. We're just going to be grateful for just having friends and family over. And that's why I say you guys have to stay prepared and prepped, because you never know what's going to happen to the garden. But again, I will take you guys along as soon as we start shifting that dirt around, which may actually even be this weekend, depending on the weather. Let me take you guys up front so that you can see what we've done with that front area now that the passion fruit has died back. We've made a couple of changes up there. All right, so here's what we've done to the front area. Right here, you can see this is where that passion fruit used to run this trellis, and now obviously that's not what's happening. We went to our local Lowe's. You can see that we've put in some wood chips. We have put in these beautiful tomatoes. I have some tomato cages around them. I'm hoping to actually put, I need to go and get a tomato cage for this one because it's not actually started producing yet, but we have some bell peppers, some tomatoes. These are celebrity tomatoes here. And then this tomato over here is a Somerset Bonnie's tomato. Now the reason why I went and purchased these tomatoes is because honestly, at this point, I don't have the time to start my own tomatoes, really. I mean, tomatoes can pretty much grow year round here, but what I really wanted to see was some growth right now. I was, you know, not planning on having to redo this area, and my pomegranate is actually looking beautiful. I hit it with a lot of potassium, nitrogen. I did a whole, I put some, I'll actually walk you guys over there because I can't even remember all the stuff that I did to it. But look, you can see it's looking beautiful. I do have some flowers on it again, so I'm hoping that they are going to be producing. But right here, you guys can see as well. Look, I have some beautiful tomatoes already starting to come in. And I can see a little damage is coming on these plants, which I will go ahead and start adding some more nutrients back into this plant as well. But look, these are going to make some beautiful fried green tomatoes for me when they get a little bit bigger. That is really the intention of this set of plants. I love fried green tomatoes. I put them in the air fryer and I do them that way as well. So we do have some growth. It's just not a lot. It keeps us humble, right? That way we always know that we can lose stuff, and you know, there's always the opportunity for growth, and that's what I'm all about. Growing Zone 9B is about growing all the way around, growing mentally, you know, growing spiritually, growing your food. So it's a beautiful thing to just be able to come up here to this area now and kind of see what is going on, and I'm very happy about that. So let me take you over here and show you the products that I've been using. All right, here is the actual soil that I've been using. Is Fox Farm. It is Ocean Forest. So Ocean Forest really is mosquitoes. Don't forget to be using the Wondercide out in the yard. I have been, but we've got a lot of mosquitoes right now. So if you're here in Florida, consider using the Wondercide. I made a video about that a while ago. The mosquitoes are flying around me even though we sprayed recently, but it's hard here in Florida to get rid of those mosquitoes. So it's nothing against Wondercide at all. It's just like when you live in like a swampy, wet area, wetlands area, you can't control what your neighbors are doing, and so the mosquitoes will still come to you as well. So we are using the Fox Farms, and I really like this product so far. It's been doing very well. This will be the second time that I've planted with it, and so I am glad about that, like to be able to have this so locally. I'm getting it right literally across the street. We have like a farm store, like a feed store, and I've just been running up there instead of going to my box stores and getting that. So let's go check out the products that I've been using to add amendments to the soil. All right, so one of the amendments that I have been using is this. It is 0062. This is a form of like potassium that I have been adding into the soil. I have, for my tomatoes, I have been using the tomato tone. Definitely something you want to be using. I have been also using the garden gypsum, and I have been using garden lime, and of course I've been using the coop poop. So you guys know about coop poop. I have shown that a couple of times, but I've been getting that at our local feed store as well. So what we're gonna do now is I'm actually gonna show you guys some transplants of some tomatoes that actually survived. And in the back bed where the cabbages were, all those cabbages got taken out, and then I put in tomatoes. So I will show you that process now. All right, so we have been out here getting this bed cleaned up, and I can already hear the thunder this morning because we're gonna have probably an afternoon rain shower. It's probably coming in off the Gulf. But this is a good teachable moment because people ask me, like, you know, if you're actually planting a plant, it doesn't voluntarily grow, what are you adding to the soil? Now, because I have raised beds, I am needing to add some amendments. That way I'm not depleting the soil of good nutrients. So I'm going to use tomato tone. It's organic. You can probably buy this at a Walmart. I got this at Lowe's or Home Depot. I can't remember which, but they usually carry them. Otherwise, you can probably order it from Amazon. So I'm going to do some tomato tone. I'm going to put it in. And then I've got some garden lime. Now, lime takes a little bit of time to you know, kind of work its way in, but this is also organic. And then I'm gonna add some garden gypsum. So it's about I know you probably shouldn't touch like chemical stuff with your hands, but I'm gonna use about a handful into this hole that I have dug. I've also got eggs out here because what I'm gonna do is I put eggs, I crack them because I'm gonna tell you what's happened. I was pulling up a tomato one time when I was cleaning up the beds, and if you don't at least put a little crack in them so that they can start to break down, that thing, when I pulled it out, exploded, and I got rotten egg in my face, literally. Like, it just went like disgustingly. So don't do that. That's a lesson learned. You just want to kind of crack those eggs. I usually put 3 to 4 eggs in the hole, and then you can see I've got way more tomatoes than I realized because some of these tomatoes are stuck together. They just come apart. There's technically 3 tomatoes right here. So we're gonna be in tomato heaven. My niece loves tomatoes, so that's kind of why I'm transplanting these. So I'll show you what this looks like. All right, so you can see here there are 2 tomatoes that are actually stuck together. You can kind of work your way out. Now that's a nice, beautiful root system. There are no nematodes. That's what you want to see in the garden. That is why I add some wood chips in on the top, because I will eventually turn them under. All right, so I've cracked both of those eggs. I'm gonna throw a little bit of this, about a handful. Right? You don't need too much. I'm gonna put a little lime. Again, we don't need too much. I'd say if you have to measure it out, for me in this garden bed, I'm in a Vigo bed. This is a 10 in, I think this is a 10 in 1. I'm putting at least about a half a cup of each. All right, I'm gonna take these bottom petals and leaves down here, branches, pop them off. I should have brought out a pair of scissors. I'm just pinching them off. You want a really nice smooth edge there. And because this one already started to bloom with flowers, I'm pulling that off because I don't want the branch to think, the plant to think that it needs to produce or worry about that. That's really its goal, is to produce flowers, you know, like in fruit. All right, so I'm just gonna place this one in, get it kind of stabilized, because I'm gonna pull some tomato cages over here. It's a rock. All right, so that one's kind of steadied in there. Here's the next one. We're gonna do the same thing, pinch off the sides. You know, you wanna give it at least a nice hand length. I like to go about mid-arm, if I'm being honest. right, that one's in there. And then I got enough space, I'm gonna do 3, which, yes, that's could be potentially looked at as like overcrowding. But honestly, I have so many tomatoes that if it doesn't work, it's fine. I would probably recommend, I mean, if this is like your sole source of food, I'm going to recommend that you only plant 2, one on each side. If you want to pull one a little more up here so the roots don't bind together, then you do what's best for you. But like I said, I have so many that it's okay for me to do this. So I'm going to line this entire bed. You can see I have some sweet potatoes over here. I'm going to line this entire bed with tomato cages and tomatoes. Like you can see over here, those tomatoes are already dying. And like I said, these came up on their own. So I have so many that I'm going to be sharing with my neighbors, my friends, my family, because there's no reason for me to be greedy when Mother Earth has brought me and God has brought me so many beautiful tomatoes. And, you know, just keep them watered. Thankfully, we are in a wet season right now where we're starting to get those afternoon showers. And that's all we need to worry about. I noticed over here that my lemongrass is getting kind of ratty looking. It's got a lot of deadness in here. Now, I just usually kind of trim it back from the bottom, and then the new greenery will come up. And then be careful, you probably want to use gloves with this because it's got really kind of razory type edges and it will cut you and it can leave scratches on you. Now, I make tea with that. So basically you just take a nice green branch, limb, leaf, and you're just gonna kind of, what I do is my hands are filthy, but I just crush it over like this. If you want to chop it up, put it in that Chefman brewer that I have, or whatever you're using to brew with, and then it's got that nice aroma that's coming out of it. And like I said, you can put it in little smaller chunks and it smells beautiful. And this is what we brew tea with. We can also make soups. A lot of Asian cultures really highlight their food in that lemongrass. And like y'all know, I love an Asian cuisine. I love a lot of like broths and soups. Even though we're here in Florida, my nephews love it. It's not always cold here, but it's so good and nourishing for the body. And that's really what we need, is that beautiful nutrients coming from the garden. And you've got to think outside the box. Like, well, tomatoes aren't, you know, I like tomatoes, don't mistake what I'm saying, but tomatoes are really hard on the stomach. They're very acidic. And so a lot of people are like, I can't eat tomatoes, and I understand that, trust me. But because I have family members that can consume a lot of them and they enjoy them, I am definitely going to take advantage of what we have here. And then I'll continue the bed down. I'll show you guys what that looks like when we come back. I'm going to finish out this row. So we have finished this project. So the tomatoes are in. It's super hot out here. It's like in the 90s. I have sweat just pouring off me. I'm glistening. All right, so here's what it looks like. Now the plants do look wilty because they have been transplanted. They will come back to life, and that's the blessing of these plants just popping up on their own. Ooh, as soon as I said that, the Lord has brought us some breeze. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. All right. So here's what the bed looks like. It's nice and beautiful. These are some sweet potatoes over here. They're now going to get some light, some nutrients. I've added some nutrients back into the bed. And then as you can see, I've added the tomato cages. And we ended up with about 12 plants, 12 tomato plants. Now, if some of them die or they get, like I said, I really pack them in a small space. In all honesty, if you're new at growing, I don't recommend doing this. You'll be very disappointed because most likely these in the middle here, they are going to end up probably not surviving because the two on the end are going to outgrow them. Now, I could go ahead and move like them out here in this middle area. They would have a stronger chance to survive. But like I said, this, you know, these plants just came up on their own. So I don't, you know, I know that sounds like greedy and like, oh, you know, grow everything where you can, and that is true. But in my space, like I said, I have these grow beds, and in all honesty, if they don't survive, I've got so many that have just come up on their own. I literally could give everyone on my street a tomato plant and they could all like enjoy tomatoes. And that's, I am gonna go and share with my neighbor. That is one of the things I'm gonna do. I'm gonna see if she wants some tomato plants. Like I said, I'm gonna take some over to my parents. My Aunt Sharon, I'd love to share with her. I really, you know, want to get her like a grow bed or something that she can start growing in. Unfortunately, they're in a rental house right now, so, which is fine. I just take my plants, you know, my produce over to her anyway. So, but you know, plants bring joy to people, and that's really, my channel is about, you know, encouragement and love, and, you know, just have, you know, this is an opportunity that you can have to share with someone in your life or your family or your coworkers or your neighbors. Like I said, when the store shelves go empty or a pandemic comes, or, you know, we just don't know. I think it's best to be prepared. We saw this in COVID, so it's not like it couldn't happen. You know, people were very isolated and very distant to one another, and I don't encourage that. I get it, if you're sick, you know, stay away, but outside of that, really be producing and growing what you can, because if you're not saving yourself, you could save someone in your family some financial hardship by planting these plants. So that is a beautiful project now done, and I have another bed that I'm going to be working on, and so I will bring you guys back for that as soon as I figure out what I'm going to be planting. But I'm going to go ahead and prep that bed where the cucumbers were. All right, friends, until next time, love one another, be kind, stay busy, get out in the garden, do as much as you can while you can, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with me today. All right, so here's your bonus, not bonus. I've been over here cleaning this bed. As you can see, there's some sunflowers in the bed. And we are pulling out carrots. I thought Pumpkin had completely ripped them all out, but she didn't. So that's the nice thing about doing cleanup, is you find carrots in the bed. Yeah, they're definitely deep down in here. So now we have some carrots. And you can take the tops of your carrots and you can use those as well. So we have some marigolds in here too. But yeah, that should pretty much be it for our carrots. But oh wait, there's another one back here. So get these washed off and in the house, so we've got carrots.